Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet Nashtaprayesva Vajreshu भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Welcome you all on our ongoing discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, thank you everyone for joining again on the Friday evening. So, we'll take our discussion ahead from yesterday, where we were discussing about the instructions given by Kapila Deva to Mother Devahuti. And we've seen that how he said that, okay, we should be worshipping the deity in the temple. However, also keeping in mind that in every living entity, Krishna resides as Paramatma. He said, I reside as a Paramatma. So the understanding is that it's not that we should not stop deity worship or temple, going temple deity, but the understanding is that we should be knowing that Krishna is also within the person. We have to respect everyone. Even we need to associate with the devotees, respect them as well while worshipping the deities as well. So in many places it is said that Krishna comes towards us through the scriptures, through spiritual masters, through the devotees. So he gives the instructions through these people. So we need to associate with them. And then he explained about the hellish planets a bit in a nutshell. Then about how the about death and about birth and going ahead. So we had a question about the activities of how we get the sinful activities and how we get the reactions in different locus. So that again is described deliberately in fifth canto. So I hope it's okay to when we continue on fifth canto, we'll discuss on that. So here there are just 5 or 10 verses about describing how the people is being dragged from this material world to the hellish planets. So we've seen the two planets, higher planets and lower planets. If we have accumulated pious activities, we go to a higher planet, and if we have accumulated sinful activities or sinful results, we go towards hellish planet. And in fifth canto, uh, in one of the chapter, it's completely described what we do and what kind of reactions we get it. So we'll go on that later on. And then after that, he explained starting about how the transmigration happens, the fruitive activities. He said about the death. When the body, there is nothing left for this, then the death happens. So let me read it actually. That's a nice one. 32. Yeah. Let me read the verse. That would be good actually. Just 1 second. Three. Yeah. So he said, due to his particular type of body, the materialistic living entity wanders from one planet to another, following fruitic activities. In this way, he involves himself in fruitic activities and enjoys the results accordingly. So when we degrade towards hellish planet, or when we go towards a heavenly planet, we either enjoy or we get distress. So from there, again, from hellish planet we come to the earthly planet, even from heavenly planet we come to the earthly planet, because earthly planet is that from where we can actually achieve liberation. So we understood earlier that this whole 14 planets, it goes back into the body of Mahavishnu, and the jivas who were there, they also goes back, and in the next day of Brahma they all comes. However, if we can want liberation, then we need to come on the platform of Bhurloka, or this planet where we are. And that's why this human body is very, very important and rare as well. Then he explains about when the body is not capable of seeing anything, or it becomes dull, it became useless, the power of sight has gone, then the person's receives the death on. And then when he's describe about that, when the body is get a new body with different senses, he again get a new body, and that is called as birth. And by that, if the person is not associated with the devotees, where if you do not have the proper vision for understanding why I am suffering, and when he does start the devotional service, until that the person goes around this cycle of birth and death. And then in last verse he spoke very nicely. He says, endowed with right vision and strengthened by devotional service and a pessimistic attitude towards material identity, one should regulate his body to this illusory world through his reason. Thus, one can unconcerned with this material world. So, just by understanding that this material nature actually binds us through our activities. So Gyan is sometimes said, okay, we need to cut down our activities, don't work, then we won't get reactions. But the real understanding is that not the work binds us, the result, or to be more subtle, the desire to enjoy the results, that binds us, right? And then we are here. And however, when we start offering our results to Krishna, let's like okay, if we have a home, isn't it? So we get a home, or we buy a home by very, very hard working, isn't it? And we make our home as per our wishes. And then if we can use that home for glorification of Krishna somehow or other, making a small altar, or altar as per our capability, and we can do morning and evening a small chanting or bhajan for him, and then offer him full prasadam, then that home can become a temple in itself. That's again basically, you are having your home, you are enjoying everything, but you are offering it to Krishna, right? And then that's why I say this is kind of right or reason is needed for enlightenment towards the devotional service. So that he makes this point in the few last things of the chapter 31. And then he says that don't be afraid of death. Why? Because he said this is not real, because the soul never dies and never takes birth, and hence do not be to worry or horrified because of this death. And because this birth is and even death is not real, we get body different species, it goes and again we get it. And what he says do, so don't be horrified about the death. And the do, he says, try to move in the world, be free from attachment. These three modes, don't get attached to the, it's kind of basically, don't think yourself as a proprietor of everything. Just think that this is the blessings what we have. Today in the morning we are in the afternoon, in fact, we are hearing a lecture, and there it was explained that a devotee, he said about what's faith. He said about devotee is one who actually thinks the blessings, thinks that the distress as also blessings of Krishna. and he feels that, okay, I am suffering because I have done something previously, and Krishna is there to help me out, right? So, and then he explained a very nice example what faith means, what Krishna says. I've heard it many times, but as I heard it yesterday, so it again get phrased. I like to share this one. He said once what happened, Narada Muni was roaming around, and he was going to Vaikuntha, but one of the Brahmana, he met him, and the Brahmana says, "O Narada Muni, it's very opulent to see you. So where are you going? And you used to go to Vaikuntha as well, meet Vishnu. So could you do me one favor?" He said, "Okay." Then the Brahmana said, "Please ask Vishnu that when I will come back to Godhead, or when I'll get liberated," kind of thing. And then when Narada Muni passed away, he met one more person, a cobbler, and the cobbler, he also asked the same question. And the Narad Muni went back to Vaikuntha, and he said, "Okay, I met two persons, and the two persons they asked me the same question." And Vishnu knows everything. He said, "Okay, in this life, Brahmana is going to take more thousands and thousands of lives before coming to Vaikuntha. However, that cobbler, when actually Narada Muni got, bewildered, the Brahmana is doing seva, service, everything, but still he's going to take a long time. Then what about cobbler?" And then Vishnu said, "The cobbler is going to come in this life." Narada Muni was fully bewildered. He said, "What? How it is?" Then he said, "Okay, just go and ask a question to both of them, and you will get your answer." He said, then Narada Muni came back, and the Brahmana, because he was more inquisitive now, okay, I want to know what the reason. And the Brahmana says, he asked the question, Brahmana, "Okay, what Vishnu said?" He said, "Okay, I'll tell you, but I have a question for you. Let's understand it." He said, uh, then Brahmana said, "Okay, what Vishnu was doing then?" He said he was actually passing a huge big elephant through the head of a needle. Head of needle, very small, isn't it? You sometimes struggle while putting the thread as well. And he said Vishnu was passing that big elephant through the head of needle. And the Brahmana got bewildered. What kind of work it is? How can the elephant pass through the small needle? And then he went to cobbler. And then he said, "Okay, Vishnu said that you're going to take more thousands of life to come back to Godhead." And then he went to cobbler. And the cobbler, very first question, he said, "What my Lord was doing?" And then Narada Muni asked the same question. And that cobbler started dancing. And Narada Muni again got bewildered. How come he's dancing? Then he asked, "Are you really thinking that Vishnu was passing this?" He says, "Yes, what's impossible for him? If from his bodily porous he can create a huge universe, not just one, uncountable, unlimited universes can come out from his porous of skin. We can count the spores in our body, and that many unlimited universes can come out from his spores. Then what's a big deal for him to pass an elephant from the head of the needle?" That is called as faith. That is confirm or firm faith that yes, he is supreme, he can do anything. Whatever he wishes, he can do anything, right? And that is how, when we have the proper vision, proper understanding of scriptures, then we can actually degrade, or detachment by default it comes up. We don't have to hanker to get detached from this everything. And then, having said that, we entered 32 chapters where he explains about the how the living entities are entangled in fruitive activities. He explains about two things, about the worker who are attached to work and who are detached to work, like the living entities who are attached and who are detached. And then he says normally, that's basically an yoga leader as well. The normal people used to do dharma to get artha, and then they enjoy it as in sense gratification or kama, and without worshipping to Lord Krishna as a bhakti, and they worship sometimes to pitras and devatas and devas, and they go to moon planet and they come back. And then the same thing is being described again in chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita. Just one second. Yeah. There he says, the person goes to, it says, when a yogi should leave their body, uh, they are dependent on Krishna. They say that there's a proper time where the smoke and night of fortnight and waxing moon and a 6 month when sun in southern reaches the moon planet. When the yogis leave, they go back to moon planets, and then from there they come back. However, Krishna explained that the devotees, they do not care about this. And after that he explained about detached worker. Attached worker means basically they are faithful, they have some faith towards the supreme. They understand that someone supreme is there from me. It's not just they defy Krishna or God or anything. They have some faith either in any something supreme, maybe devatas or devis or Krishna, but they have desire of enjoying the sense gratification. And then he explains about detached worker. Detached worker are what? Those who do not desire the fruit of their actions, and they offer everything to Lord Krishna. And then they travel through sun, and then they attain the higher level over there. So that is basically one level. Maybe sometimes we will go and understand about the yoga ladders, how it happens. Like it being said that people who do not follow or do not believe, kind of Gnostic, do not believe on God, they live as animal life. And then on top of that is the karma kandis, the people who actually believe in a supreme power, and they follow the rules and regulations as described by the scriptures to get something beneficial from them so that they can enjoy it. And from them is called as karma yoga, where the person, they are engaged in duty or the prescribed duty or karma. However, yoga is they connect themselves to Krishna. And again in karma yoga, there are two divisions. One is called Niskam karma yoga, one is Sakam. And on top of that, it comes Jnani or Jnana yoga. And on top of that, it comes uh, Ashtanga yogi. And above that comes the Bhakti yoga. So maybe we'll do sometimes to elaborately understand this whole picture. But then again, he explains about the worshipper of Lord Brahma. They also goes to Brahma Loka or Satya Loka, and from there, if they are pious, they can get liberated as well. The liberation from happens. Then otherwise, they come back again to this year, and if they do bhakti, they can do it. And also then Kapila Muni criticizes the Sakam karma as well. Sakam karma is uh, attached to the work, still doing the work, however, in a scriptural way. Then he says the ultimate goal or all the other goals can be achieved by bhakti. Right? That's a very nice verse comes. He says, "My dear mother, I therefore advise you, take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for his lotus feet are worth worshipping. Accept this with all devotion and love for those who can be situated in transcendental devotional service." So he says, okay, do not have to worry about other things. You can actually worship the lotus feet of Krishna with love and devotion. So, like worshipping someone with very love and devotion, we get all the benediction what is that. And after that, the one of the best slokas comes, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. It says, engagement in Krishna consciousness, Vasudeva Bhagavati, Vasudeva, you understand the, Krishna. Engagement in Krishna consciousness and the application of devotional service onto Krishna make it possible to advance in knowledge, detachment, as well as self-realization. So the Gyanis, they hanker for knowledge. Even the Gyanis, they hanker for detachment. The yogis, they also goes for detachment and self-realizations. However, it says that the person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness, they gradually get the knowledge, they get the detachment, as well as self-realization. So just by doing bhakti, they can get everything. And then he says the bhaktas or the devotees of Lord who have taken the shelter of Krishna, they are equipped, They are transcendental to good and bad. They are uncontaminated by the matter. However, still living in the matter, they are uncontaminated, and they are equal in qualities with the Lord. They get the qualities of Lord as well. And after that, he explains about Bhagavan in three ways of realization. We can perceive Bhagavan in three different ways. So, what he says, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead alone is complete transcendental knowledge. However, but according to the different process of understanding, he appears differently, either as impersonal Brahma, the first point, or as Paramatma, the second, or as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, three ways he can understand. We discussed earlier as well. Let's try to understand a bit more on that. So, let's suppose this understanding has gone higher and higher. Even in bhakti also, there are so many elaborate levels to understand what bhakti is. And sometimes it's called as Navada Bhakti, sometimes it's called as 64 limbs of the Bhakti. So it again goes deeper, deeper and deeper, because it's Krishna unlimited, Bhakti is unlimited as well. So we're talking about three ways of understanding Krishna: as an impersonal Brahman, as a Paramatma, and as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. So let's suppose we can take an example to understand this. I'll tell the example after one more verse where Krishna explains about more things. And then he says that the jnanas, that what we can do is the verse, yes, he says a single object, the same Krishna. There are three ways to understand. Now he's explaining it more. He said the single object is appreciated differently by different senses due to its having different qualities. So our senses have different qualities, so we understand it in a different way. How? Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one, but according to different scriptural injections, he appears to be different. So Supreme God is always one. Ete chamsa kalapurpumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Right. So how the senses, as the senses can perceive differently, so the different injection from scriptures, we understand it different, and we think there's a different, but actually he is the only one. How we can understand it? Let's suppose example of a sweet. A sweet, if we use our sense of eyes, we can say, okay, the sweet look to be round, or maybe black or white, or in a golden color, or flat. That's the one way of understanding the sweet, right? However, if you use our mind, then we can say, okay, it might be a mixture of milk powder or sugar or some other items. And if we can use our hand senses, so senses of touch, we can see, okay, the sweet looks to be cold or hot or warm. So different senses are giving different perception of sweet. But if we test it through our tongue, we'll get everything. We can understand, oh wow, the sweetness of sweet can be tested only by testing it through our mouth, or through our tongue, or through our the sense of tongue. So in a similar way, Bhagavan is the highest, or the one. And sometimes people say that think that is a Supreme Brahman, the effulgence, or Paramatma, second form, or third is Bhagavan himself. So Prabhupada also sometimes gives an example to understand it, like let's suppose in a village there has to be happened, I think I have said it earlier, but let's make it understand about more clear, that uh, a train platform is to be constructed in a village, and for the very first time a train is about to come on the village. So three persons, they went to analyze it. And the first person, he could see the sound, horn of sound, when as he was about to approach, and he went off. And the second person waited a bit more, and what he could see is that when train approached towards him, he could see some more lights, some the smoke, and he went. However, the third person, he waited till end, and actually he could see that when the train came, these are the coaches and the people are coming out of it, right? So a villager asks them, what is train like? The first person says, train says sound. No, it will horn you, you will know, okay, train is coming. That's not wrong, that's correct as well. And the second person, he approached, he says, no, 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 it's not just the sound, it also there is some smoke comes up, and it got some small coaches as well. And that time third person comes up, he said, no, you are correct, however there is something else. What is that? In the coaches people are sitting as well, and they come out and you can go in that. So the higher understanding is that Krishna's is that he is the same Paramatma, and he is the same effulgence or Brahma. So Brahman is the called as first realization, Paramatma is called as second step of realization, and Bhagavan is called as the third or the final stage of realization, right? And that is how he explained about the why, because of association with the different scriptural injections, it appears to be different, but actually he is the one same. And then he explains what is the qualification of receiving this knowledge and what are disqualification. So he says the people who are envious, who are proud, who have different views, who are materially so much attached, and they do not know do anything about bhakti, those who hate devotees, those who do not believe on the form of Krishna, those are actually are not meant to understand this knowledge, right? And then he explains about the qualities by which we can understand him. What is this? The faith comes again, the faithful devotees who have complete faith that yes, Krishna is our everything. And then they are non-envious, they are respectful towards Krishnas as well as towards other living entities. They are friendly towards all the living entities and surrounding over there. And importantly, they are eager to render service towards spiritual masters, towards Krishna. And those who are detached, however, they are from the external objects, and they are always in peaceful minds, and they are pure, and by this they can understand this knowledge, or basically these are the qualification to understand this knowledge. And then there after this that says, anyone is called as Falasruti. Anyone who faithfully hears or speaks these topics of the conversation between Kapila Dev and Mother Dehuti, they achieve the Lord's lotus feet. So, in many of these chapters in Bhagavatam, there's called as Falashruti. Shruti means hearing, and you get the fruit of hearing. So, in this, the conversation, what we heard about the Kapila Muni and Dehuti conversations, the Falashruti is anyone who faithfully hears or speaks the topic, they achieve Lord's lotus feet. So just imagine hearing faithfully about the glories of conversation between Mother Dehuti and Kapil Muni, the Kapil Dev, Lord Krishna himself, that can gives us the uh, lotus feet of Lord Hari. And then it goes towards the last chapter of this canto, Canto 3. We will be paying our obeisances into the Canto 3, where after hearing these glorious words from Kapila Deva, Mother Dehuti prayed her with from her heart, and she said, "Oh my Lord, you are so great. How did you appear to my womb? And even Brahma, who takes birth from you." And she glorifies. Actually, I like to read the verses. They are very glorious. Mother Dehuti said, Brahma is said to be unborn because he takes birth from the lotus flower which grows from your abdomen while you lie in the ocean at the bottom of the universe. But even Brahma simply meditated upon you, whose body is the source of unlimited universes. And it's my great fortune that you appear as my son. Then she glorified more. She said, uh, As soon as the personality of Godhead, you have taken birth from my abdomen, O my Lord, how is that possible for the Supreme One who has in his belly all the cosmic manifestation? And she give the answer. He says the answer is that it is possible for at the end of millennium you lie down on the leaf of banyan tree, and just like a small baby, you lick the toe of your lotus feet. Actually, this is called as Patrashya. There's a very nice story comes for this. We'll hear it in some time. This is a very nice story. Someone please remember it and ask me. We'll discuss about this story once. Because in dissolution, what happened? Lord Krishna, I'll tell this. No, it floats on the water and just leave. We'll see it. It's very nice stories there. And then he said, your purpose of coming here in my womb is just to destroy the sin and make your followers prosperous and teach the path of jnana and bhakti to everyone. This is the only purpose of you to coming as my son, right? And then she glorifies. She says, even a chandal who chants the name, chandal is a dog eater, and they do not eat dog because of their profession, but there is some meaningful theme is there. That's why they are called a chandala. And if today, if you have time, I can explain it. So she said, even a chandala who chants the name, hears it and remembers the Lord or offer obeisances immediately becomes qualified to perform sacrifices. Right? Just imagine. So any person, it means that it says that any person in this world can actually take the holy name and chant it. Any person means any person. There is no discrimination between poor or rich or American or Indian, or anyone. No classification. There is no classification actually, to be honest. The only qualification required is our faith. That's it. Faith in the holy name, faith in the name of Krishna. That is the only qualification required. Rest, no qualification is required to uh, know about bhakti and glory. Go ahead in our that. And she explains the same thing as well in next verse. He said, how glorious are they whose tongues are chanting your holy name. Even if in the born of family of such dog eaters, such person are worshipable. Person who chant the holy name of the Lord must have executed all kinds of austerity and fire sacrifices and achieved all good manners of the Aryans. So in short, she explained that the person who is chanting your holy name, he somehow achieved everything. And to be chanting the holy name of your lordship, they must have bathed at the holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything what is required. So just imagine how glorious is chanting the holy name. There is no need of an explanation. It's just verses are very clear. He says, I believe, my Lord, that you are Lord Vishnu himself under the name of Kapila, and you are the supreme personality of Godhead, the supreme Brahman, the saint, the sages, being freed from all disturbances of the senses and mind, meditate upon you. For by your mercy only can one become free from the clutches of the three modes of material nature. At the time of dissolutions, all the Vedas are sustained in you only. And by just glorifying this, uh, Kapila Deva became so much, he was so happy. And then he gave final instructions to Mother Dehuti. He says, you will achieve bhakti very soon. Just follow whatever I have taught to you. And please have faith in this and just follow, and you will also achieve fearlessness. Right? Fearlessness to death also. And then, fearlessness to death. So there will be no fear of death. And then Kapila Muni took permission from Mother Devuti, and he went to Ganga Sagar. And it is being said that Kapila Muni is still there in Ganga Sagar. Ganga Sagar, it comes nearby in Bengal, if I'm not wrong. Yes, it comes in Bengal, where the Ganga actually merges into sea. In that place is called a Ganga Sagar, And many persons, people, devotees, they go and worship and see Kapila Muni, not by the face, but they worship that Kapila Muni is still there and giving the knowledge to us, right? That is how we completed this canto. But I would like to read the Falashruti of this as well. Just give me 1 second. He says, then with Maitreya Muni is describing what he is describing as, my dear son, this Maitreya Muni is saying to Vidura, my dear son, since you have inquired from me, I have answered you. O sinless one, the description of Kapila Deva and his mother and their activities are purest of all discourses. The descriptions of the dealings of Kapila Deva and his mother is very confidential, and anyone who hears and reads the narration becomes a devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is carried by Garuda, and he therefore enters into the abode of Supreme Lord to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So just imagine wow glorious it is to hear about Mother Dehuti and Kapil Dev conversation. Persons who is hearing with full firm faith, they actually can transcend towards the spiritual world, and importantly is that they will be engaged in the loving service of the Lord. All right, so that is how we completed chapter canto 3, and we'll pay our senses to canto 3. I'd like to share one screen. I have created it, but I thought I might not have time, but I think we got it. So it will take a couple of minutes more. Okay, can you see my screen? Please let me know. Yeah, I think you can see screen, isn't it? Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you very much. I thought no. Okay, so what happens? This basically we'll see about the science of soul or science of self. So it makes a sense of what you have discussed. So the first yellow one, it's called as soul, right? Which actually is in our body, and then the outer cell is the called as subtle body, which is mind, intelligence, and ego, and outer to that this is called as gross body. So in between us there are three elements. So one is soul, and the subtle body, and then the gross body. Subtle body which we can't see. Krishna explains that bhumir apo analo vayu kham mano buddhir evacha anka ankar ityam mein bhinna prakriti ashtadha. So bhumir apo analo vayu, these are the five physical elements. These are gross elements, and mind, intelligence, ego is called a subtle element. We can't see mind, but utilize our mind. We can't see ego, but we express our ego through our physical activities, and then hence intelligence. And the subtler of them is soul. So what happens? So soul is being covered by subtle body and then the gross body, right? And then next, whenever this physical body, the outer part, the five elements, it goes away. So we our the subtle things, mind, false ego, and intelligence, which actually carries our desires and thoughts, they travel along with the soul towards the next destination. That's the next body we get. And that is how we say that sometimes we say that okay, the person has got his from his previous life. That is how it happens. It's because the consciousness we had, it travels with that. It helps maybe Yamaraj to decide what kind of body he needs to be fit on because of the consciousness, right? This is actually birth cycle goes in this material world. However, when we get liberated towards spiritual world, what happens then? we can see the outer body and the subtle body goes away. We just remain a body that's called a spiritual body. There is no more this consciousness or this body is not there. It's everything is spiritual over there, right? So these are the three slides I wanted to share regarding what happens in birth and death and what happens in liberation, right? So any questions, please let me know.
Prabhu, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Prabhu, you said that the Kapilmuni went into Ganga Sagar. So, what was the real reason of Kapilmuni reincarnating as Lord Vishnu? So, it was the only reason that he would narrate
Yeah,
all this to
that is what
Mother Devati?
Mother Devi says. You took birth just to provide this knowledge about the Sankhya and glory, and also glorify the devotees who can actually expand this knowledge and spread across. And just a good point, actually. I would like to read that. I would like to read the purport what Prabhupada says on that. Right. Just thanks for bringing up that question. So Prabhupada says in the purport, it is understood that Kapila Muni first went toward the Himalayas and traced the course of river Ganges, and he again came to the delta of the Ganges at the sea, now known as the Bay of Bengal, or the ocean gave him residence at the place still known as Ganga Sagar, where the river Ganges meet the seas. The place is called Ganga Sagar Tirtha, and even today people gather there to offer respects to Kapiladev, the original author of Sankhya system of philosophy. Unfortunately, the Sankhya system has been misrepresented by an impostor who is also named as Kapila, but that other system of philosophy does not tally with anything described in the Sankhya of Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Kapiladev is still there, and he descended come just to provide this knowledge towards of Sankhya to us. And also we discussed earlier that Kapila Muni here described this Sankhya philosophy with in connection with Lord, with himself. However, the scientist trying to analyze the same thing without the connection of Lord. That's the only difference you can say. But he elaborated everything in detail, and science is still struggling to find the other things.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So if there is no more question, then we can finish today. Thank you everyone for joining. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
And thank you everyone for responding. I got so many responses. I read it, and I think everyone is willing to continue. So I've got more responses that I continue. So we will continue up to this as well. And the next coming is tomorrow. We'll start Canto 4. Canto 4 is again a very kind of very nice narrations between about the Dhruva Maharaj, Daksha Prajapati, glorification of Lord Shiva, and how Lord Shiva glorifies Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then about the Prachetas, and it's lost coming in Canto 4. It's again got a very nice nectarian discussion about everyone over there. So see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Nice to see the words of my girls and everyone's.